It's time to be equipped and understand that you are not a tail without the head. In fact, you are the head and not the tail. I'm making this video as a reminder to you to remember to fight. This is for every time you get negative thoughts or something inside you tells you that you can't do it or something just keeps you in fear. Remember, there's a mental and physical battle, and the battle is fair game. And even though things are not going the way you want it to, you have not lost as long as you are alive. As long as you're still here, you still have a chance to win. You have a fair chance to grab hold of God-given dreams and God-given purposes. The enemy, aka devil, believed in you more than you believe in yourself. So that is your sign that if you don't believe in yourself today, you need to start believing in yourself. So much so, he knows your potential. He understands the impact that you can do on this earth. That's how powerful it is. He knows the God assignment that God has put over your life. You see, the dreams that you have here is beyond what you can imagine. It's so big that the enemy wants to do everything he can to sidetrack you. Everything he can so that you don't walk on the God-given road where God will take you. He wants to make sure that you don't get to your God-given potential. You don't reach to levels and heights. You're in a bestie environment and we're about to keep it real up in here. So buckle up, ladies. He wants to keep you mute, discouraged, and defeated. There always is a battle for you to keep the stinky thoughts that has you feeling like crap. Have you beating yourself up, telling yourself you're not good enough, and then have you so negative that you just stay in bed, roll over, and not even have the energy to get up and do the thing that has been on your heart. There's a part of life, because of challenges, keeps you from following your dreams. And it doesn't help that most people think the same way and would continue to tell each other and let the negativity just breed, and everyone just talks about not liking their job or working paycheck to paycheck, and then it becomes this norm, and then you never reach the potential of what God has for you because of it, and then you end up being in the same spot. I don't want you to leave this video as the same person. I want you to watch this video, be inspired, and leave a different person and determine that you're going to change your mindset and you're going to do things differently to get to the fullest potential that God has for you while you're here. No longer are you going to settle of telling yourself the story of not being good enough and not being ready to go after what your heart has been telling you to do. You know deep down what you need to do. And if you're telling yourself, I don't know, that's not really the real objection. You know deep down what you really want to do. I should have failed by now. I should have been written in that book of failure. I grew up in a typical toxic household where I was told eventually, hey, you're not moving with us. You could stay here. And mind you, I was working a part-time job, going to school at the time. So I definitely didn't have enough money for rent. And so I was definitely worried and I almost went homeless. I remember to the point where I was left in the empty apartment until the lease was ended, because I didn't have the money to find elsewhere. Thankfully, I had the church, because I was going to church. I had a church family. They ended up helping me. And throughout the years, I got to see God's hands over my life. I got to see how he was supplying and all that stuff. And I'm thankful, because throughout the years, I got to see God's hand over my life. I got to see how he provided for me and protected me despite me feeling abandoned, right? I was able to get my own place and all that stuff. But there came a point where I started to feel very unhappy and dissatisfied, right? Because how it works is God will help you with the challenges that you have at hand, but eventually it always goes back to your purpose. It comes to a point where God's like, okay, are you ready now to like move to the next level? And I remember I would leave the house, and you guys can let me know in the comments if you have done that. It came to a point where I would leave the house and I would cry going to work. I would bawl going to work. I dreaded it. And so I always knew deep down that business was for me. But I couldn't figure out how I was gonna get there. I was living paycheck to paycheck. I had a little debt and I couldn't even afford buying a car. I honestly didn't see the way out. But despite that, what I started doing was I started researching, I started contacting coaches, anyone I felt like could potentially help me. I was just too scared to make an investment. And if I'm being really real with you guys, I didn't believe in myself. But I'm here to tell you what I learned from this situation is that you don't have to make it happen. If you feel stuck today, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to make it happen. So while I was trying to figure it out, shocker, the job ended up laying me off. And I remember it was one of the most depressing times, again, because they put me in a taxi and I just cried. Because I was like, what am I going to do? This is not an ideal situation. Hence all the things that were going on in my life, bills, all that stuff. And I was like, God, like what now? I was trying to figure it out and I didn't get enough time to do it. Here's what happened. I got home and I remember talking to one of my church friends and I was telling the situation, and then all of a sudden she was like, Nikia, you've been wanting to work for yourself for a very long time now. This is the time. Spread your wings. And all of a sudden, instantly, there was this shift. Like something just shifted in me. I immediately stopped crying. I immediately stopped feeling sorry about myself. And I went to the library the next day and just started reading books, business books, and trying to make a plan. And what do you know it? A few weeks later, I saw someone selling their training on e-commerce and how to start an Amazon store. And the rest was history. And this time, I did not hesitate with spending my last savings, because you know what? You know how I worked this out was I could be unhappy again and find a new job, or I could try something new to fix the solution. I ended up going with the latter and was like, you know what, let's go all in and let's try this out. And if anything, I could always go back to a job. A job will always be there. Within a week of starting my Amazon store, I made my first dollar online. And I remember this because my phone dinged. I was in my SpongeBob SquarePants pajamas and I almost jumped to the ceiling. And let me tell you, that's all I needed to feel motivated. That was it. My mind was going and I was like, okay, I did one sale. So if I did 10, I'd be making this. And then I went on to do $3,000 by my third month. And then in my first year, did my first 6 figures. It changed my life because I got to see how God could just change your life like this and make it happen and give you exactly what you need, that dose you need to keep on going. But here's a kicker. You don't know when it's gonna happen. So you have to be ready and open when challenges come. It's not a sign for you to give up and be like, I lost the race. It's a sign for you to be like, let me keep going in this race to see what happens and how you finish it. It was exactly what I needed. It gave me confidence. It showed me what I was capable of. It made me learn about my talents and my skills. And it just showed me what my potential was. Listen, I felt like an outsider all my life. I always felt like people had better talents than I did. They had better skills, and I always felt like the one left out. I was at the odds. I didn't have the typical support from family. But God showed up and just showed me how much He loves me and how blessed I am and how much I wasn't stuck. And that's why I'm telling you, if you feel stuck right now and you feel like you're in this bind, you don't have to worry. You just do what you know and God will make it happen. Supernaturally, He will take you out of that situation. And I'm sharing this with you to say, every time life gets hard and it feels like you just want to give up, don't shy away from it. Push into it. Push harder. Work harder into it. Push back with persistence. Because it means that where there's challenge or failure, on the other end, there's something out there for you. There's success waiting for you. The bigger the challenge, the greater the promise, baby. Tell me in the comments what you're waiting to see happen.